But let's talk first about the gender pronoun problem in the US military, because there's an amazing video which I think we've got. Let's have a quick look at it.
Hi, my name is Jony and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, and I'm Conchy and I use she, her pronouns.
And we're here to talk about pronouns.
What is a pronoun? A pronoun is how we identify ourselves apart from our name, and it's also how people refer to us in conversations.
Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect.
If it's a signal of acceptance and respect, how do we go about creating a safe space for everybody?
That's a good question. A really good way to do that is to use inclusive language. Instead of saying something like, hey guys, you can say, hey everyone, or hey team.
Yeah, and now that you say that, another way that we could show that we're allies and that we accept everybody is to maybe include our pronouns in our emails, or like we just did, introduce ourselves using our pronouns.
But what would I do if I misgender someone?
I think the first thing to recognize is that it's not the end of the world. You correct yourself and move on, or you accept the correction and move on. The most important thing I can tell you is do not put the burden of making you feel good about your mistake on the person that you just misgendered.
Oh, thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, and another tip for you to remember their pronoun next time, it's in your mind. Kind of go through a progression of 3 good things about the person using their pronoun.
Unbelievable. I mean, I thought it was just this country that had gone mad, Sebastian, but that is an actual US Navy training film. I mean, maybe a better question would be, what do I do if somebody points a gun at me when I'm in Tripoli, you know?
Yeah, no, I know you guys are having your own problems with wokeness in the military, but it is utterly out of control here. As you said, that is an official US Navy video. I would call it a propaganda video about safe spaces and pronouns. Let's be clear, I don't care whether it's the British military, I served in the TA in the UK, whether it's the US military, doesn't matter what arm of service, your job is not to talk about safe spaces, it's to create deadly spaces where you kill the enemy, to prepare for, and if you can't win it, then to crush the enemy. It is out for Pride Month here in the US. Every service is out of control. The U.S. Marines that I taught for 2.5 years had a photograph of a military helmet with rainbow crayons in the band of the helmet. And this one, I hope this comes across. This is from the U.S. Space Force. This is the 5th service that President Trump, my old boss, created. This is from their Twitter feed. It is about queer space. It's an astronaut with a gay pride flag. We are the nation on God's earth to put the American flag on the moon. And no, forget about our flag. It is the rainbow flag. It is out of control, Mike.
Oh, my God. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And, I mean, what do they think they're actually achieving by doing any of this stuff?
They're virtue signaling. They say, oh, we are so hip. We are nice. Your job isn't to be nice. Your job is to be deadly. There's another one from the Air Force, Mike. They tweeted it a few days ago. I retweeted it with my own commentary of Air Force recruits in their PT gear running. And what are they holding? They're holding a gay pride flag. Hang on a second. Any army, any Air Force, any military, you are supposed to be serving what? The nation. It should be nation's flag. This isn't controversy. And the rainbow flag, let's be clear, as a cradle Catholic, the rainbow is a symbol of Christianity. It is the message from the Creator after the flood to Noah that I'm never going to do that again. So let's take back the religious symbols for the people who actually celebrate them in their original form. And when it comes to the military, no wokeness, no safe spaces. Learn to win wars. And when you have to go to war, kill your enemy. End of story.
But this is where we find ourselves with the police in this country as well, and you similarly in Uvalde, which we'll talk about in a second, where, you know, young women, young girls as young as 11 being groomed by gangs of Pakistani men because they're more concerned with not upsetting anybody in the community than they are with stopping it. In the same way in Uvalde, the school where the shooting took place, the police stood around for an hour, and now the police chief is put on leave. What the hell were they thinking? What were they doing?
Look, it's worse than that. This is the latest from Uvalde, from that school shooting. Not only were 19 officers standing outside for more than an hour before, guess what? Not a local cop, one of the heroes, a tactical officer from the local Customs and Border Patrol said, what's going on? Found out, this is from yesterday, I read the story literally word for word on my show. A member of the local police force who was off duty, whose wife was one of the teachers killed inside, his wife called her saying, I've been shot, I'm bleeding out. He had a weapon on him, and he went to the school to rescue his wife and to stop the shooter. The police, the Uvalde police, the school police, stopped him and disarmed him and detained him.
Dear me. I mean, something's gone very wrong here, and is it? It's not just the police chief, presumably, who's in trouble here. Is it the town elders? Who is to blame for that?
Well, that's a much longer discussion. Think of what's happened in the last 3 years in America. If you're a policeman, and I've worked with thousands of police officers over the years, I used to train them in how to understand Al-Qaeda and ISIS and stuff like that. And God bless everybody who gets up in the morning, puts on a badge and a gun to protect us. But after 2 years of BLM riots, after Antifa, after police being crucified for justifiable self-defense actions with their firearms, what happens when that political overlay is above you every single day like a cloud? You're going to think twice. You're going to think 3, 4, 5 times before you pull your weapon. Yeah. So you don't have the backing of your political masters. When Gay Pride Month is more important, when you have a real issue, you're going to think twice about, hey, do I pull my gun because I'm the one who ends up in the dock?
Yeah, and maybe ends up in jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really incredible, isn't it? And I mean, what about the aftermath of that? I know that you're an advocate for guns, sensible controls on gun ownership. What are you making of what's happening in the House?
Well, it's really bad. We've had 14 senators in the Senate who have signed on to a draft bill to bring gun regulations after the massacre that now will have to pass through the House and then through reconciliation. But it's the usual. It's like the Pride Month. It's virtue signaling. Everything they've recommended would have had no bearing on the school shooter. None. Zero. Zilch. So it's like, hey, I'm doing something to make you feel as if I'm doing something. The Uvalde shootings, all the other school shootings have a similar thread. It's a young guy who did lots of bad stuff, got in trouble with the law, and they gave him kid glove treatment. In many cases, in more than 90% of the cases, the young man was also on some kind of a psychiatric drug treatment. Yeah. Maybe we should be looking at how the psychiatry of this all matters more than the inanimate object which is a gun. A gun doesn't kill people. A person has to have the intent to use that weapon.
Yes. And I mean, in a way, it's almost impossible, isn't it, to stop somebody who is intent on doing what that man did, that young man did. It's almost impossible to stop him, because even if you were to ban the sale of guns to everyone, if you want to get a gun, I mean, I know where I can get a gun in London if I need to. Everybody does, and it's mostly the criminals in this country that have them.
Well, they won't be deterred. You can ban every gun in the planet. Murder is actually illegal in both of our countries. So the idea that more legislation will make a difference is insane. Let's have some practical concepts. For example, we now know for the case of the Aurora movie shooter that the killer had a map at home where he mapped out. In America, we have these things called gun-free zones, where the local virtue signaling council will say, this shopping mall is a gun-free zone, or this school is a gun-free zone. He deliberately picked a movie theater that was a gun-free zone, so he knew nobody could shoot back on him, who was a licensed gun carrier like I am. Right. Well, guys, a criminal, when he sees a sign on a school door or a shopping mall door that says gun-free zone, he just laughs.
Yeah.